Hello, friends. We just celebrated the most amazing 250th birthday party for the United States of America, only to be ruined by a dark cloud of Marxist nonsense that was being spewed from the mouth of Mayor Mamdani of New York City. Andrew and I are going to get into analyzing the core of that speech, some of the main points, and talking about why this is not only dangerous, but a bunch of baloney from a biblical Christian worldview. You're not going to want to miss our podcast today. Andrew gets fired up today. You're not going to want to miss it.
Hey, welcome to the Ron Johnson Discipleship Podcast.
We're so excited to be with you guys. So much has been happening. Of course, our 250th birthday, a once in at least our lifetime. I'm not expecting another 250-year celebration. 500 years.
Maybe when Christ returns, a resurrected body.
I am pushing though. You heard me prophesy in the message.
50 more years. I did hear.
I'm believing to be here for the 300th anniversary.
Yeah, so don't do the math, but yes, we'll believe for 50 years.
Hey, it doesn't hurt to dream.
Amen.
And before we get into the important details of this incredible weekend, I told you and Matthew, our producer, sitting right here to my right, that you guys are both going to be jealous of the gift that I received from John, who is one of our members at Living Stones, who was listening, heard us talking about some of the things happening in our culture today. You know, we're only months away from the start of a new football season. And I have a Hammond Bears hat.
No way.
No way. Now, this is probably...
Did he custom make this?
Well, you know, there's no Bears logo on this, which is probably because that they're not going to put the Hammond Bears on their hat ever. But this is such a.
Is that a real authorized Bears?
No.
Skier? Oh, okay.
No.
Right. It looks kind of like
it was
the
ordered
font.
specifically for this podcast from a sports place, and they got the Bears colors there.
Yeah.
And the way I look at it, if this is still just a dream and it never materialized, although we should probably stop and pray right now that it does. Then this is still going to be a great memory piece, because there was serious consideration at one time that the Bears would move to Hammond. I do hope it happens, so we'll see.
You know how they make the champion shirts for both teams, and the ones that lose get sent to some random nation. This kid's wearing some forgotten championship. I bet we should print out a bunch of Hammond Bear T-shirts. If it doesn't happen, we'll mail it off to some.
Like, who are the Hammond Bears?
Take them on mission trips and give it to kids, and they're like, someone is wearing a Hammond Bear T-shirt.
So anyway, this is good. I will let you guys borrow it, every now and then.
No, I mean, you wear it around. I mean, you're going to start some conversations for people. So good conversations.
So thank you, John, and thank you to the rest of our listeners. I also received a special gift from my buddy Al on his way back home on a holiday trip, listening to the sermon where we were talking about how the soccer fans from the world are loving Buc-ee's, the Buc-ee's experience. So I got this really awesome Buc-ee's 250th, patriotic celebration of America. And I knew just the guy to give that to, because Matthew's office has lots of Buc-ee stuff in it. Well, maybe not lots, but there is Buc-ee stuff in there. So if you see Matthew wearing that Buc-ee's T-shirt, you know where that came from. It has been re-gifted, but I got permission to re-gift it.
There you go.
So anyway. So much good stuff happening over the last few days. I hope you had some good downtime with your family. I was ministering to my dogs on 4th of July night because they don't like
the fireworks.
So, we had one of those sound machines that you put next to your bed, noise machines that, with all the different soothing sounds. So anyway, they had a good night's sleep. We didn't pamper them too much, but we had kind of a chilled out night.
Yeah, I had some stomach issues over the 4th of July weekend, so I didn't get to enjoy the food this much.
No.
But we're okay. Yeah,
well, we had two great shots on Sunday to really go back to talk about the foundational matters of liberty and freedom. And I wanted to read a verse that I opened up with yesterday from Jeremiah that I think really describes kind of the what Os Guinness called the civilizational moment that America finds herself in. We pointed out that most great nations only survive for about 250 years. And ironically, we just had our 250th anniversary. How prophetic is that? And that really that we are standing at a crossroads, and we need to choose which direction we're going to go. Are we going to take the old ancient path, or are we going to create a new one? So I opened up with Jeremiah because he was dealing with the same issues with God's people, Israel. And this is Jeremiah 6:16. This is what the Lord says: stop at the crossroads and look around. Ask for the old godly way and walk in it. Travel its path, and you will find rest for your souls. But you reply, nope, that's not the road we want. That's the opportunity that the Lord, I think, gives people, is you have two choices. You can follow the wisdom of God Almighty, the tried and true counsel that leads you to prosperity and blessing and freedom and liberty, or you can try the shiny new object. And I think for a lot of younger Americans, the shiny new object is some regurgitated, reconfigured form of Marxism, which we've been around long enough. I'll speak for myself. I'm older than you. But in our lifetimes, we've already seen the historical disasters of wherever Marxism or communism go. It's horrific. I mean, just from your homeland, the Chinese communist system right now is one of the absolute worst in terms of surveillance, loss of liberties, fear, tyranny, government control, exploitation, all of the things that are that come with Marxism, and that's in every communist or Marxist country in all the world, whether it's Cuba, North Korea, Vietnam, Russia. It's everywhere, and everywhere it is, it's bad. The only thing I would say that's equally as disastrous as Marxism is Islam, and we can certainly show what life looks like in countries that promote that religion as well. But these are kind of the shiny new objects that a lot of the younger Americans are, paying attention to. And I think this is part of that apprenticeship of liberty that the church must get back to, is we've got to make sure our young people are not seduced, because socialism has a bit of seduction to it. It sounds so good. It sounds so noble. It even almost can sound like Jesus, but it's nothing like that, and it's nothing about what Jesus promotes. So let's talk about, to me, the black eye of the entire 250th celebration was Mayor Mamdani's speech he gave on July the 3rd from his office, ironically enough, sitting behind the desk that George Washington conducted business upon. And just seeing him sitting there, having read all that I read over the last 2 weeks, kind of ramping up to the holiday, and seeing the greatness of George Washington, truly, the greatest, if not one of the greatest, if not the greatest presidents ever in our history. All the sacrifice that he went through, his incredible leadership and perseverance, and then to see an openly Marxist mayor from Uganda who came to this country only 8 years ago and who was welcomed and treated with dignity and respect, and now he's sitting behind George Washington's desk, basically trashing America. It was disgusting for me, and I felt that slimy demonic feel, because he's a gifted communicator. His speech was not necessarily inspiring. It looked pretty morbid, actually, the setting of it and everything. But as we pointed out, some people have a charisma about them that's actually demonic. It's deceptive. It's shiny. It's like the serpent in the garden, kind of an anointing. And I think, he has one of those things. So let's jump in. You and I were looking at some of the content from his speech, and you actually watched it and created a pretty wonderful outline here. So I'm going to let you lead on that. Let's just find some talking points from a Christian worldview perspective to kind of challenge some of the things that some of the points he was making.
Yeah, and before we even start on that, I want to say, like, he is very, very smart, because I don't remember the last time a mayor of a city, New York City, largest city in America, is talked about for July the 4th and making a speech. Here, you and I and social media is talking about a speech.
Yep.
And he's gaining traction because people are paying attention to him. And he's positioning himself with greater influence because he knows exactly what stirs the pot and what people wants to hear. He's got...
Even the timing of that speech, it wasn't on the 4th, it was on the 3rd. Mm-hmm. So he jumped to the front of the line in terms of the news cycle.
Yeah, sense of timing. It reminds me of Trump. Trump knows how to work the media. He knows how to get attention. He knows how this works. Mamdani, as a much younger man without TV experience, is able to navigate through this. Makes him very, very dangerous. So it's just for the fact you and I are talking about the mayor of New York, it's saying something about what he's trying to do. He's very intentional. Right. So just put that out there.
Yep.
But there are a couple things he says. There's a mixed element of truth in what he says, which makes it extra dangerous.
Yeah.
But this whole claim about diversity, all the immigrants who come over, what they bring. And as an immigrant myself, I see this very, very clearly. When people say diversity is our strength, it's not to total truth.
That's right.
It's a half truth. I wouldn't even say it's probably like a 35% truth. And I've said this over and over again. Diversity of values, core value, is division. Right. And nothing divided can stand. An empire falls, study empires, they fall apart not because of, ultimately because of outside forces, but initially because of division from within.
It's actually unity that we're after around core principles.
A core principle, diversity of perspectives with the same value, the diversity of abilities and gifts, buffeting that core values, what a nation's perspective. My wife and I are so different in gifting and personality, but our family's strong because we share the same values, right?
Yeah.
So people take the half truth and they go everything with it, and they say we need everyone come and bring all their values together, and then we'll become stronger. No. The house stand against itself cannot stand.
And he did the typical leftist thing that we've heard during this whole immigration crisis. They never tell the truth and use the word illegal in front. Nobody in this country is against immigration. This is the melting pot. That's one of the beautiful things about America. You can experience so many different cultural blessings in this country, but we're talking about food, we're talking about things like that. We're not talking about religion, we're not talking about philosophies of government that are up for debate. Those things have already been settled. Our Constitution was clear about these things.
And the Constitution. Those are the things, are stated values of what we're about, right? The Constitution doesn't say we all need to have cheeseburger and French fries.
Yep.
There's nothing fundamental about cheeseburger and French fry that makes it American.
Right.
You know what makes it American? The Declaration of Independence and the Constitution.
Yeah. And those are the things, as you pointed out, that unite us. So I'll just give a couple of quotes here, and you've already addressed some of these. But he said, America is an arena of supremacy where only a select few are allowed freedom. We are not all created equal. America, if you ask them, becomes less the more people it becomes less, the more people it welcomes. America, they will tell you, belongs only to those with the right accent or the right shade of skin. I'm like, what planet are you on?
So that's Marxism, what he's doing right now.
Exactly, and it's divisive. But that's not a reality. Nobody says that some people are more welcome than others because of the color of their skin. We're dealing with an immigration issue that's completely legal. We're dealing with law. We're dealing with lawlessness on the other side, with people that want to run to jump to the front of the line and don't go through the right process of the right open door to America, which we have allowed immigrants in this country for years and years and years. So they can continue to conflate that issue, which I know they do it on purpose, but they make it sound here like because the next thing he went into was attacking ICE again. And this is just absolute ridiculousness. He said, we see mass agents terrorizing our streets. The reason they're wearing masks, by the way, is because people are looking them up and attacking their families and going to their house and swatting them, doing all kinds of things, threatening their lives, death threats, everything else. Anyway, masked agents terrorizing our streets, eating food cooked by our undocumented neighbors before spiriting them away in unmarked vans. Again, it's this whole idea that somehow ICE is these terrible Gestapo people that are out, swiping up innocent citizens, which we know is not the case. I love it when Tom Homan clarifies all those half-truths and lies and just says, look, this is the truth. This is how many criminals, rapists, murderers we have got off the streets, and this is how many children from under the Obama administration or under the Biden administration that were lost to sex traffickers. This is how many kids we've been able to rescue. That's the truth. But here he is again, demonizing law enforcement, which is again something the leftists love until they're in power, and then they have their own law enforcement that isn't so kind. And then, of course, he attacks Elon Musk, which is classic Marxism. He says, we see the wealthiest country in the history of the world, so he at least acknowledges American exceptionalism. We should be asking, why is that the case? It's not because of your Marxism. One where children go to sleep hungry while the world's first trillionaire hungers for more. Again, what's your take on that? Are kids going to sleep in America hungry while this greedy, billionaires and trillionaires are constantly grasping for more?
Yeah, this is so intellectually dishonest. I know why he's doing it, because he's landing these clips that's going to be easily understood by people and easily remembered by people, because that mental image, right? And the truth, what he's really saying is we have a systematic failure. Why are kids going hungry? It's probably because their parents are sinful and not. I mean, there's multiple reasons, but one reason is that their parents are sinful. They don't have a job. Yep. It's personal choices that lead to this. But what he's saying is this infrastructurally, systematically, it's wrong. We got to shatter the whole system.
We haven't even talked about the whole fact that there is millions and millions of dollars, federal dollars, that are sent back to states to feed children who are coming from disadvantaged situations. The truth of the matter is much of that money gets stolen, as we're seeing through corruption, and never gets to where it's supposed to be. But as you pointed out, it's personal responsibility, which is one of the foundational principles of what it means to be an American, is self-government. Yeah. Self-government means you take care of yourself so that some Marxist mayor does not need to provide for all your needs.
And the government cannot solve personal responsibility. The best the government, or the worst the government do, is take away all your personal responsibility, and then we're in a totalitarian state in which you become God and king of the nation. Yeah. That's not what we want. But when you give people personal responsibility, the government should stay out of that. What happens is some people are going to be rich and some people are going to be poor, because it rewards those who work hard, innovate, and create jobs so they can feed their kids. And those who don't, we give them opportunities, fair opportunities, and not a given. That's how what governments should be working.
You look at the typical American. Elon Musk, I would say, is not continually hungry for more. Elon Musk finds joy in innovation and job creation and creating new products and solving problems. And the fact that he's good at that and that he makes money at it doesn't mean he's some greedy person that doesn't care about anybody. We should be celebrating the fact that, no, he's not going to sit around at this season of his life and do nothing or sit on a beach somewhere and stare at seashells all day long. He is a young man who still has plenty of life to live, and he's doing what he enjoys doing, which is part of the American dream. He's not doing anything illegal. He's not doing anything wrong. In fact, he's blessing untold millions of people with what it is that he does. And so to suggest that he's some greedy whoremonger out there that's allowing kids to starve while, this is the way the typical AOC mentality thinks. If we just took $1 trillion and we divided it up equally among every American, we just handed them whatever $1 trillion, whatever their percentage was, then everybody would be happy because we would all have the same amount of money. And we know that's absolutely
Well, they don't understand
stupid.
finance. They don't understand there's not actually $1 trillion of liquid sitting in his
Exactly.
bank that Elon Musk every night goes and swim in. That's not how this works. This is the evaluation given by people, shareholders, who believes in their company for eventual. This is money that other people has put in. His net worth is that. Doesn't mean he has that money.
But this kind of economic envy works on low IQ people.
People don't understand economics.
Or they're just like, you have more than me. Why?
Well, it's also interesting because they pick on Elon Musk because there's so many really rich people, the hedge fund managers, and what they do is they just like trade, they just manipulate finances. But you pick on Elon Musk, who's a person who actually generates wealth because he solved the biggest problems the world has.
And I might add, he's a legal immigrant.
He's a legal immigrant.
He's from Africa.
Yeah, South Africa. But he is solving problems that people need solved. If you want that you want that level of value, go solve the biggest problem in the world.
And that has been the strength of our economic engine.
Rewards that, right?
Is we figure out what needs to be fixed, and somebody takes the risk, makes the capital investment, raises capital, whatever they got to do, but they go out on a limb to create a solution, and that solution blesses people.
In America, people are rewarded for that, so the best ideas come to America, whereas in other nations, you come with the best solutions, it gets stolen by other people, or better yet, or worse yet, the government come and steal it from you. So no one innovates, no one works hard.
And a lot of the poverty internationally is because people with money might want to invest in another nation of the world, but because of their terrible government, the terrible laws regarding business and regarding property, nobody wants to sink money into that country when the government, here you build a great manufacturing company and the government comes in a week later and says, thank you, we're going to take it over now.
100%.
Who's going to go put any capital in one of those kind of countries? So it goes right back to the things we talked about: the rule of law, our Declaration, our Constitution, these foundational principles that must be learned in the apprenticeship of liberty, or else you just bring your terrible country you came from, all of their terrible ideology, their terrible laws, their terrible government, you import it into our country and try to make it like yours. And that's the recipe for disaster. I love, by the way, how Elon Musk responded to this jab. He said, Mamdani has built nothing. He is a taker, never a maker. And that is the truth of every Marxist leader. They create nothing. They have these grand ideological, pogroms like Mao did, like Stalin did. They're going to, introduce this ideological change, transformation of America, like Obama was talking about. But these are all ideologues, and when they, implement these policies, it leads to the hunger, and starvation of millions of people, or the mass slaughter of millions of their own citizens. They don't create anything. They just take until the whole thing falls apart. So I thought his response was good. And it's interesting, he's talking about inclusion and all this kind of stuff. So here on our 250th birthday, they're supposed to be having some large gatherings, as they've done every year, for New York City's America 250 Times Square ball drop. And Mamdani turned that into a private ticketed event where you could only show up if you were invited and you had a ticket. And again, so here he talks inclusion. But he's only going to let folks that are, part of his team actually come and celebrate our nation's history there on the square. And as you also pointed out, which I thought was interesting, Marxists are always good at telling you what you need to do, but they never do it. It's like Bernie Sanders screaming about climate warming, global warming, and he's on his private jet flying everywhere, and then he makes some excuse about why he had to do it. But, it's interesting as it related to now, these Marxists, they have to micromanage every aspect of your life, including how cool you can keep your air conditioning. Talk about what was exposed there, because this is classic Marxism too.
Right. Well, Marxism it creates division. It creates class struggles. It paints some people as victims and some people as elite. It paints these different pictures. And when there are grievances, instead of saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to go build my own thing. You go and you complain, you whine, you get people to rebel, and you burn the factory down because if you can't have a job, no one can have a job. I mean, that's the French Revolution, right?
Yep.
Is Marxism. But you burn things down, but you don't know how to build things back up. That's what Elon Musk is talking about, right?
Yeah.
So when you're just a talker and not a doer, you're not in touch with reality. So what happens is when you start talking, implementing policies, when you try to do it yourself, you're like, I can't actually do it. But instead of going to everyone else and says, you know what, guys, I screwed up. I messed up. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just making stuff up. You hide it, and that's what hypocrisy is created. So one funny example I saw over the weekend was over air conditioning, because like all of us, we all had this heat wave last week, right? So, I mean, I did some references to make sure this was true. So he basically sent out a tweet or messaging to cities, say, hey, keep it at 78 degrees.
Turn off as many electronic things as you can.
Yeah, save the grid, whatever. And it says, hey, we're going to keep 78 degrees in government buildings, and dimming lights, and cutting all these different things, okay? And then, of course, somebody says, hey, I'm going to go and measure. You can bring your own, thermostat and measure thermometer and measure your temperature, and they found that the city hall, the government mansion, whatever, was way below the 78 degrees. One room was like
54 degrees or something,
and stuff like that, and it was documented by New York Post and stuff like that. So again, like just stuff like that is just so par for the course. It's just like that's of course they would do that.
This is the law for you peons, but it's not for those of us who are the elites who are actually running the government. We need to have a cooler office because we're so important, and of course our role is much more valuable than yours.
So for me, like someone says, it's like just temperature. Like who the heck cares? For me, these little things matter because the little things dictate who you really are.
Well, remember when Nancy Pelosi got her hair done?
During COVID?
During COVID, when she was shutting down every other hairdresser's business and destroying their business. But she had to get her hair done because she was the Speaker of the House. I mean, it's that kind of hypocrisy that we see over and over and over again. I came across a really, really great article. I don't know who wrote it, but it was just a response to Mamdani. He said this guy was a Muslim kid born in Uganda, and now he's the mayor of New York City. A guy back in his own birthplace said it plainly. Over there, he'd have to claw his way in, but here he had the door open for him. We've got the most, he's talking about, certain skin colors don't matter. He says, and it's a great point, we've got the most diverse Congress in our history. So all this talk about racism and stuff like this, and you have to have the right color skin. Again, it's a Marxist technique to alienate people into the oppressor, oppressor dualism. He said, Mamdani talked about this machine that grinds immigrants down. He says nearly half of Fortune 500 was started by immigrants or their kids. 231 companies.
It's contradicting right there. We grind immigrants down, and half of Fortune 500 is started by immigrants. If we're grinding immigrants down, why are some of the largest companies in the world CEO by immigrants? Jansen Wen's an immigrant. Elon Musk is an immigrant.
Well, Apple is the son of a Syrian. Google is a kid who came from the Soviet Union.
Yep.
Amazon is the son of a Cuban. Put them together, and they out-earn Japan, and they out-earn Germany. He goes, that's not a country grinding people in the dirt. That's a country handing them the keys.
It's a country that rewards merit. So my question is, outside of America, what other nations rewards merit like America? Not based on, so now you got reverse racism. It says, hey, if you're not this race, then you can't be, if you're not a minority, you can't get into Harvard, you can't get to these different positions. Like, go look at other nations. What nation is more focused on? My bet is the nation that doesn't judge your doesn't judge your skin color, judge you based on your character, your abilities, wins. Yep. What nation is more merit-based than America?
Yeah, none. And I love the way he says it. He goes, he's talking about how we have more percentage of our population are immigrants than any other nation in the world. And and he gave some numbers on that. He said, we're 4% of the world's people, but we hold 17% of the world's migrants. He said the line literally wraps around the globe to get in. He said legal immigration built this country. That's the front door working the way it's supposed to. He said, but you need to earn your spot, respect our laws and customs. You want in, to your point, build something, contribute, earn it. Nobody's owed anything. You come here illegally, you commit crimes, you steal from taxpayers, you should get deported. That's not terrorizing the streets. And he says, Mamdani walked through the front door in 2018. He, of all people, should be defending America. Instead, he stood at Washington's desk and spent his speech blurring the line between people who came the right way and the ones who broke in. The man even admitted out loud that America was exceptional, and then he spent the rest of his time explaining why it isn't. So I think that just really well captured, what we're dealing with him. A couple more points I wanted to get to from your speech. We talked about the class struggle and grievance. I'm talking your speech, his speech that you were talking about here. But talk about your perspective as a Chinese American immigrant. Your folks came through the front door. They came through the right way. You became they became U.S. citizens. You were born. You already had your citizenship through birth, or you became?
No, I was born in Taiwan. My parents came after years. They applied for naturalization. They became citizens.
Yep.
And I was underage at the time, and because of that, I became an American citizen. Yep.
So you talked about the Constitution of the United States offers far more freedom, safety, and opportunity than the system in China. Talk about, again, that Chinese system as it compares to the freedom and liberty that people here have in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, China has been around for thousands of years.
Yep.
And the concept of liberty, they're still struggling with the concept of liberty because, look in the Bible, people want a king. They're used to doing king.
Yep.
As we have studied, the American experiment for people the nation is run by we, the people, is such an anomaly, it's such a glitch in the system that until you really study what history was like before and afterwards, you don't really understand how compelling, how crazy that experiment was. Because human nature, going back to the Bible, going back to Samuel, crying out to God, and God, they rejected me.
We want a king.
And God says, no, they didn't reject you. They rejected me because they want a king. That need for a king is because I don't want to rule myself is inherent. I believe is part of brokenness of sinful nature.
Yeah.
And through America, we established this experiment to say, hey, self-government means that we will have no kings. We will have representatives who truly represent us and serve us. We're going to take Christ-like leadership, which is washing people's feet, and put it in governmental concepts so that our congressmen, our senators, our president, our Supreme Court are not kings. They're supposed to be washing our feet.
Yep.
That experiment got established in the Constitution and in the Declaration of Independence. So when people come from other nations, including China, who technically, in my brain, still has an emperor, essentially, it's just like it's a completely different world. Now, under that type of system, there still are signs of prosperity and wealth, all these different things. But freedom, happiness, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, conscious right, all these things are so fragile. So when you come to this nation saying this nation has all these great things, but I'm going to bring these ideas that I didn't like, inject it because diversity or strength makes zero sense to me. It's like if you migrating from California to Texas because you love the low taxes and you love the freedom, you love that you don't have to follow all these crazy regulations.
Yeah,
and also
you keep voting Democrat.
But you transport a California policy over Texas. You're like, well, that makes no sense. It's the same concept. So for him to say, well, diversity is our strength, we got to bring these ideas in there, blah, 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 it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, and I'll just say this too. When you look in the Bible, God delivers his people from abject slavery and poverty. But boy, that was easier, even though that was a miracle. A bunch of slaves delivered from the most powerful nation in the world at the time. That was easy compared to trying to get Egypt out of them. There's something in human nature that wants to just be cared for. They would settle with giving up freedom for having security and safety and food. Like a lot of the communist dictators said, hey, we'll promise you a chicken in every pot. Nothing more, nothing less. We can't tell you how much chicken, but we'll provide the chicken for your pot, but we will rule over you. And there's just so many people that like today, anybody in this room could go out today and has the opportunity to build a business like Elon Musk and be incredibly successful. We have more information at our fingertips than ever. We have more government support than ever. We have more programs than ever. We have a nation that prides itself, in equal opportunity and freedom. You can get loans. There's a whole host of things. But I think at the end of the day, there's just something about, I just want to sit in my apartment that's as big as a closet and play video games on my TV and get my government, check once a month, and I'm a happy guy. Instead of embracing the risk and the challenge and the thrill that comes with liberty. When you're responsible for your life, for your family, for your choices, for your income, for all of those things, it's, I think, more than a lot of people want to deal with.
It's interesting. Bring back to the scripture when they're out of Egypt, they're celebrating like crazy. God performed great miracles, and then they start whining, complaining. They say, "Remember the time when we were sitting in Egypt? We have all the meat we could eat, right?
All this great food,
all that great food we can eat." I get it, because you know what? Because I work with entrepreneurs all day, and just this morning I was with a business talking about some of these problems and the issue of business. You had to go in debt. You have risk involved. You could lose a lot of stuff. You got to solve problems that no one else have to solve. The entrepreneurs in America, in my mind, build America because they took risks and a lot of them.
And let me add too that the immigrants who came here legally the bulk of them came when we still had a frontier. So there was a lot of hard work. There was laying railroad tracks. There was building steel mills, and there was clearing the land. And this was no come here and live the dream. This was an opportunity to build a life for yourself, but it was not easy.
It was not easy. There's risk. Anyone who started a business realized, man, all the business guys I know didn't pay themselves for years. For years, everyone else got paid. They didn't get paid for years. And that's how people look at these guys. They're like, oh, they're so wealthy, rich now. Do you want to go through the first 10 years of what they went through?
Right.
But those
and the answer is no.
The answer is no. Most people don't want to do it.
But I want the car that you have, and I would like the freedom.
I want the influence and the financial. You have to go through. But America is built by those people, and that's the culture, and that's the DNA, that's the genes they have passed down. But then you have other people who come who just don't want that lifestyle. I get it. That lifestyle is not for everybody, but America has a unique. This is for me a outside perspective. America has this unique spirit of front. Now, it's not just white people, or I'm not making this a race thing. Because you got the entrepreneurs who are Indian, who are Chinese, who are African, who have the same spirit. They said, hey, you know what? The Constitution and the Declaration says our rights come from God and not from government. That means I have more security. The government is there to protect me and not to take from me. Now I get to exercise this. Now, I still might fail, but it's much better chance for me to make it here than some other nation because of the Constitution and Declaration of Independence. Yeah. That's what makes America the greatest. And for people to come and ruin that and says, know what, we're going to add new ideas, we're going to make this better, they don't understand that whole picture.
Yeah. That whole idea, we don't have time to get into it, but the Constitution is this living, evolving document, and we're constantly adding things to it and tweaking it and all that kind of stuff. Part of our stability, again, has been 250 years, same document guiding our government and guiding our people. So last thing we want to do is start tinkering with something that has been amazing. And I want to mention too, when you said God gave us rights, the God they were talking about was not Allah. The God they were talking about was not Krishna. The God they were talking about was the God of the Bible. So you can't come in here with an Islamic ideology and ask for Sharia law because your rights come from God. You're talking about a completely different God. And we got to get real clear and honest about those things too. So I'm concerned, with some of the traction that movement's getting. And I think we really got to be loud and clear and bold and prophetic about the evils of this person and his ideology. Because again, it's the fact that, as you pointed out, that we're talking about it now now means that it's in the news, and they're seeing traction. Here's the upside of all this is the Democratic Party, as we knew it, is dead. They're scrambling now to try to find that unified core of ideation that they can kind of rally around. And I just want to say lots of luck. That has become such a radical
There's no other way to go.
leftist. Yeah, and there's no place for your normal Democratic voter like the John Kennedy voters of years ago. Those people are gone.
No, those people are Republicans.
Yeah. Those people are conservative Republicans in many ways.
I mean, you're Alan Dershowitz.
I just saw Alan just jumped ship, became a Republican, left the Democratic Party. There's nothing there.
I don't even know. It's everything's shifting. So, anyways.
Yeah. What a radical transformation of both parties. And over the last 4 or 5 years. So. Crazy. Anyway, all right. Well, hey, we're glad you guys tuned in today. I want to encourage you. Let's keep our hands engaged in this arduous apprenticeship of liberty. It requires work and vigilance and virtue, and that's where the church comes in. So let's do our job this week. All right. We'll see you next Thursday.